Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Julene and this is Caleb, and today we're going to be doing a breastfeeding vlog while talking about the things I wish I knew before I had a baby. Okay, so let's go ahead and get straight into this. Mr. is hungry. Alright, so let's start. Yeah. Okay guys, so I'm going to start off with breastfeeding. If you guys have watched any of my other videos, then you'll know that breastfeeding was actually the hardest thing that I have ever done. As you can see, I am now breastfeeding and it is now easy. I'm not going to talk a lot about it because I have 2 other videos on it. I will link them down below so that you guys can watch them if you guys are interested. But I was definitely not prepared for how hard breastfeeding was going to be. And if I have any advice for anybody, it is really research breastfeeding. Seek out a lactation consultant, ask questions, because there's a lot that goes into breastfeeding. The positioning of the baby, the positioning of the latch. There's just so many things, but like I said, I'm not gonna go into it because I already have 2 other videos about it, and I go really in depth into how hard it was for me, how I got mastitis, and how I almost gave up. So if you guys wanna watch those, like I said, I'll link them down below in the description box. Okay guys, it's a little bit later and Caleb is hungry, so we're gonna feed him again. The next thing I want to talk about is whether you are a breastfeeding mama or you are a formula feeding mama, you are going to be washing so many bottles. Nobody prepared me for how many bottles I was going to wash. If you're a breastfeeding mama, you have the pumps, all the parts, and you have the bottles. If you are a formula feeding mama, then you just have a bunch of bottles that you're going to be washing, and you're going to underestimate how many bottles you're going to wash. And like, you would think, why would you even put this on here? But I am not a person that gets overwhelmed very easily. And I have to say that this was probably the most overwhelming thing of all, was washing the bottles constantly. It was round the clock at 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 6 in the afternoon, 11 in the morning. It was just all day, every day. It became like a second job for me, and aside from the full-time job that I already have, which is, you know, taking care of my son Caleb. And so just be prepared to wash a lot. Next on my list is, if you are a breastfeeding mama, breast milk is magical. And what I mean by magical is it helps you with so many things. So Caleb actually got a really bad scratch on his face, because you know, babies are always touching their faces and they have like really sharp, razor sharp nails. And so he scratched his face, and he scratched it from like the top of his cheek like all the way down to the side of his face. It was really bad scratch, probably the worst one that he got, and I was freaking out because I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to take any pictures because he was going to appear with this massive scratch on his face. But I actually put breast milk on his scratch every single time that I breastfed him. And whenever I remembered, I would just hand express some milk. Like if I changed him or something, if I was doing a diaper change, I would just hand express some milk and I would put it on his scratch. And by the end of that night, if not the next morning, the scratch was completely gone. So I did this every time that, you know, if he ever scratched himself a little bit, I just put breast milk on it immediately and then throughout the day, and it got rid of the scratch and it did not leave a mark. Right? Yeah. So it was awesome. You can also use breast milk in baths. So Caleb got a really bad rash based on something that I ate, which I will get more into in a little bit. But basically, I just prepared his bath like I always do, and I just added breast milk to it. So like I was saying, what I did was I just prepared his bath like normal. I, you know, put the warm water in there, and what I did was I added breast milk to the water. So I had some leftover breast milk that I had heated up and that he had not finished drinking, and I added that. And then I had some other breast milk that I just had left over. And mamas, you do not want to throw away your breast milk, and you don't have to. You can use them in baths, and it's actually amazing for their skin. So if you guys have that breast milk, put it to good use, whether it's on a little scratch on their face or yours, or whether it's in a bath. All right guys, so again, it's a little bit later, and the last thing I wanted to say about the breast milk is that if your baby has clogged tear ducts, you can use a breast milk for that. Caleb actually had both of his eyes had clogged tear ducts, and I would put breast milk in there and it really helped out. He no longer has the clogged tear ducts. So that was great. Now, the next thing that I want to talk to you guys about is babies and what you eat and it affecting them. So like I mentioned before, Caleb had a rash. And while you're pregnant, you stop eating certain things because it can affect them. You know, they can get sick from it, or for whatever reason, you stop eating certain things. So I like eating a lot of spicy food, and I noticed that when I ate spicy food, he would get hiccups. So I stopped eating spicy food because I don't know, I just felt bad. I didn't know if it was affecting him in any other way than just the hiccups. Finally, when I gave birth to him, I was super excited to eat spicy food because it had been forever since I had eaten it. So I decided to order a really spicy Thai curry. And when I breastfed him later that night or afternoon, he got a really, really bad skin rash, like all over his body. If I find the picture, I'm gonna post it right here so that you guys can see it. I ended up taking him to a pediatric dermatologist, and they said that what you eat doesn't affect the baby in any way, that there aren't enough studies to prove that, and there have been several studies done. So I'm not a doctor or a medical professional or an expert in any way, shape, or form, but I do want to say that what I ate affected my baby. It doesn't affect him now anymore because now he's an older baby and, you know, his system is different. But when he was in his beginning weeks, in the first few months, definitely what I was eating was affecting his mood and how he felt. And aside from his mood, he actually got a rash. So again, it's been some time. Aside from what you eat affecting the baby's mood, they also get colicky. There wasn't a specific reason for it, but it was always at the same time. So just around 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, he would just start crying for no reason. I later found out that he also had reflux. So there's certain things that you can do for the colic and for the reflux. For the reflux, what I did was I put him in the baby Bjorn chair, and what that did is instead of him having to lie down in a completely horizontal position, I was actually able to sit him up. And if you guys have ever had reflux before, laying down is the worst thing possible. And that chair like bounces. So putting him in that chair was the best thing ever. It allowed him to sleep and take naps, and it no longer affected him at nighttime. So it was mostly just during the day. So that was great. For the colic, you have gripe water, and there's also some homeopathic medicine that's for like colic comfort. And you can also give that. I can link it down below in the description box, but those medications definitely helped out with the colic. And like I said previously, it can also be what you were eating. Okay, so the next thing that people, I feel like, prepare you for, but you're never prepared for, is the lack of sleep. And I cannot stress this enough, but everybody would tell me all the time, sleep now because you're not going to be able to sleep later. Take advantage, take naps, sleep in. And this is something that I cannot stress enough. You are so tired. You get so tired. There's so much that you have to do during the day, and so much that you have to take care of, and the baby, and he doesn't sleep or she doesn't sleep. You end up taking naps at the same time as the baby because you are so tired. So even though everybody tells you sleep, you might think you know what you're in for. You have no idea. The exhaustion is just on another level, and it's so tiring. A common misconception is that, you know, when babies are tired, they just go to sleep. And that's actually not the way it works. So babies need to be taught to sleep sometimes. Some babies don't, but some babies do. Sometimes you need to hold the baby for him to sleep, or you need to rock him, but they don't always necessarily put themselves to sleep. So something that I did that I think is pretty important, but again, this is just what I did, is when I was at the hospital, they used to wake me up every 2 hours so that I could feed Caleb every 2 hours. And you know, babies get used to what they're introduced to. So if you wake your baby up every 2 hours, then the baby gets used to waking up every 2 hours. So what I did was that I just let my baby sleep. My baby was well fed, and I had a bit of an oversupply. So if you are going to do this, you should ask your pediatrician first, because I know that there are some babies that need to be woken up to be fed if they are underfed or if they're a little bit underweight. So this was something that, you know, I decided to do, and I just let him sleep. I would not wake him up, and he was sleeping 5-hour stretches at nighttime, which was amazing. So a lot of you mamas are gonna decide to sleep with your baby in your room. And I think that what's important to know is that even if you put them in a bassinet, you need to make sure that you have a sound machine on, because when you toss and turn in bed, or when you get up to go to the bathroom, or, you know, if your partner snores or any little noise, normally it's going to disrupt the baby's sleep. So if you have the baby in your room with a bassinet, it kind of helps out to drown the noise out. And I wish I had known this prior, because I had the baby in my room in a bassinet, but what happened was I didn't have the sound machine, even though I had one. And the baby would constantly wake up whenever we got up to go to the bathroom, or any little sound that we would make. Once I transitioned him into his room, then I had the sound machine on there also, and that helped drown out all the outside sound as well. Now, the last thing I want to talk about are the wake windows. I had no idea about wake windows prior to my baby. I kind of just thought that they slept when they were tired, like I said before. But they do have a specific time to be awake and to go to sleep, which is what the wake window is. Depending on their age, you keep them awake for specified amounts of time. Obviously, as the baby gets older, the longer they can stay awake, but in the beginning stages, sometimes it's just half an hour or an hour at a time. It was very important for me to follow these, because this helped me to not have an overly tired baby, which when they're overly tired, they wake up extra times at night, and then they get cranky and fussy, and sometimes they're really, really hard to put to sleep. So I wish I had known about these wake windows a lot earlier, because I would have actually followed them. I didn't start following the wake windows till a little bit later on, when he was a little bit older. Now that I've been following them, it's the most amazing thing, because he's never overly tired. I instantly recognize his tired cues, and I know that that's time to put him to sleep. Whereas before, sometimes he'd get a little bit fussy and he was a little bit hard to put down. So it seems like I was able to breastfeed him for most of the video. I hope you guys really enjoyed my video, and I hope you guys subscribe, and see you guys in the next time. Bye.